Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Game Plan. This is about the Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams. This is the show that details the key injuries. It goes through the key stats. We put it together in a game plan, give you a path to victory for both the Seahawks and the Rams. And then we also cleaned it up with some fantasy football and daily fantasy football computer projections given by Rockobot, my computer, my daily fantasy football computer algorithm that I wrote, basically. So before we get rolling here, as always, a couple reminders. One, I'm not a fan of either team. I don't hate either team. I'm completely unbiased. So this is just, a person's analysis and how I see it. I consider myself more of an NFL bettor, a gambler, an odds maker than anything else. Not a bookie though. That's illegal, but an odds maker. I like to predict the spread and all that stuff. So this is just how I see the games. This is kind of how I work my way through picking games by the end of the week, and also my daily fantasy football lineups. Also, if you could give me 2 seconds of your time for 2 clicks, a like and a subscribe, that engagement really helps a channel like us grow. We'd like to add more personalities onto the network. We have a couple things underway in development that are going to be cool after the NFL season. So please help us keep growing so that we can keep adding more and doing more cool things like this. I would love to do a little bit less of some of the stuff I do earlier in the week and just focus on these game plans, so you can help us get there once again by liking and subscribing. But with no further ado here, let's get to the key injuries, as I always like to start these videos with. The Seattle Seahawks, they have bigger names on the list, but everybody's questionable, which leads me to believe that I think they can all play. Dwayne Brown, Jadeveon Clowney, Ansah Kendricks, key players for the Seahawks, but again, all questionable. At least you don't see a lot of doubtfuls or outs. Meanwhile, the Rams, you have Gerald Everett, who's now listed as the second tight end in the depth chart, and then Havenstein, who at tackle there, questionable. So both teams actually are relatively healthy in my point of view for where they stand today. Yes, I know teams have had injuries and people on IR and all that stuff, but again, we're in the back quarter of the season, last quarter of the season. These teams are what they are, and that's what we're analyzing at this point. Moving forward, we go to the key stats. Now, the key stats are based on yardage accumulation, just passing offense versus passing defense and running offense versus running defense. And you can see that the Seahawks offense and the Rams defense in terms of passing both ranked 10th. Meanwhile, the Rams passing offense is 5th, which isn't a surprise because they've been really calling a lot more passing plays than running plays. So in yardage accumulation, frankly, I would expect them to be a top 5 based on their play called distribution there. The Seattle Seahawks passing defense is 29th. Now you would look at that as an analyst and you'd say, "Oh man, that's a big plus for the Rams." I don't really buy that. I'll explain that later. The run offense for the Seahawks is 3rd versus the 13th ranked running defense, and the run offense for the Rams 25th versus the 8th ranked run defense. So again, as an analysis, and this is why stats, you can make a stat to make an argument in just about anything. So I'm not beholden to stats, believe me, as you'll find out as I go through these videos. But when I see the 5th ranked passing offense and the 25th ranked running offense for the Rams, what it leads me to believe is that McVay has just been going away from the run. And there, you can make an argument, is it Gurley's knee? Is he shot? Is it the offensive line? Is it McVay? Blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that later. Long story short, the 5th ranked passing offense doesn't impress me when I see a 25th ranked running offense. What it means is you're one-dimensional, and that's a problem. So even though the Seahawks passing defense, you look at that 5th versus 29th, you think, oh man, the Rams are going to pass all day on the Seahawks. I don't see it that way, because when NFL defensive coordinators play a one-dimensional team, bad things happen. However, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about the key analytics. I call these gambler stats as well. Long story short, when you're a gambler, you have a system. But one of the first things that everybody always looks at, yards per play, both offensively and defensively, situational, 3rd down, 4th down, conversion percentage, your red zone touchdown percentage. Once you get into the red zone, if your offense can stay on the field, how efficient are you in the red zone in scoring a touchdown as opposed to taking a field goal opportunity? And then what I call discipline stats, your turnover margin, how smart are you playing? Are you taking care of the football? And then penalty yardage. Again, how smart are you playing? So I look at these stats, and you see the Seahawks offensively, they get 5.9 yards per play. They give up 5.8 yards per play. Usually in a team that has 2 losses, you see more than a 0.1 differential in terms of your passing. And it's weird, actually. The Green Bay Packers have a negative. They give up more yardage than they score, than they achieve in an offensive play. It's very weird. Now you look at the Rams, 5.8 yards per play offensively, 4.9 yards per play defensively. Just high level. If you average these guys out, that's advantage to the Rams by maybe 0.3 of a yard per play, which adds up and accumulates over the system. Which again, you're looking at a 10-2 Seahawks team, the number 2 team in the NFC. You don't expect them to be losing that yards per play battle to basically a 7-5 team at this point. Okay, and remember, these two teams played very, very close. If Greg the Leg did not miss a field goal, which is very uncharacteristic of them, we could be talking about this game in a different light. Now let's see, a third down conversion. Seattle converting 40.7%, only giving up 38%. Meanwhile, Seattle's defense gives up about 36%, and the Rams' offense gives up 36%. This is where you start to see Seattle pull away as a situational football. Again, this isn't a knockout by any means, but Seattle is starting to show you, hey, in situational football, they're doing pretty well. You look at fourth down, they convert 57% of the time, because what happens in a 4th and 2 situation, you have Russell Wilson, you can call pass play, and if everybody's open, Russell Wilson's going to scramble for 3 yards. He's so slippery, so annoying to play for defenses, and I say that with respect to Russell Wilson. All respect to him. He's fantastic. The Rams, meanwhile, converting 20% of fourth downs. No bueno. That goes to show you they can't get the run game going by any means, okay? And then you look at defensively, the Rams defensively are giving up 57% of the time. That's not a typo, by the way. That is a true stat. Both of these teams, there is 57.1% Seattle's offense versus Rams defense. Then you look at fourth down conversion percentage for the Seahawks, 36.2. Heavy advantage towards Seattle in my mind. They can stay on the field when they have to stay on the field, which again, when it gets into crunch time in the fourth quarter, one of the reasons we all know, we have all seen over time, over Russell Wilson's career, how good he is. He can extend drives in the fourth down. If the Seahawks are behind, as a Seahawks fan, you have a lot of confidence because of stats like these. They make it work, okay? Then you look at red zone percentage. To me, no surprise. The Seahawks, they run the ball very well. They're over 60% touchdowns when they get in. The Rams, they struggle against the run. They're under 60%. There's massive correlation as I do these videos. Teams that can run the ball tend to be over 60% or closer to 2/3 of the time scoring touchdowns. Teams that struggle running the ball are below 60%. It's really almost a direct correlation. I mean, it's pretty damn close, okay? Turnover margin, I think, the Seattle Seahawks, they're doing pretty darn good, 0.8. That's pretty good in the league. The Rams, -0.3. You wouldn't have expected that coming into the season. Usually McVay has a good disciplined teams. They take care of the football, not so much. And again, I think that's because they're passing too much. Then you look at penalty yardage, it's negligible. Let's get in, because I'm going to talk about the Rams and the passing attack, but let's start with the path to victory for the Seattle Seahawks. Shut down Gurley early. And I almost made this a rhyme, like a nursery rhyme. Shut down Gurley early, and McVay will stray. But McVay will move away from the running game if they shut it down early. At least that's what he's shown. I'll talk about that more later, Rams fans. I know you're going to take issue with that, but let me clean that up in a bit before you comment and tell me I'm a jerk. The Rams don't want to get the middle of the field going. Cooper Kupp, I think, is the best receiver on this team. I project Tyler Higbee to actually have a really nice game. I know Everett is questionable. Maybe that goes to tight end by committee, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But if you shut down Cooper and take your chances with Woods and Cooks over the top, I think things will go pretty well for the Seahawks this week. The Rams, I think they've been their own worst enemy. I think if the Seahawks keep this game close, Russell Wilson can work his magic, his fourth quarter magic, like he has been all year long. If it weren't for a fellow by the name of Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson would be my MVP. At the midway point in the season, Russell Wilson was my MVP, but I just can't ignore what Lamar Jackson's doing. He's playing incredible football, but so is Russell Wilson. And thanks to the season that Lamar Jackson's having, I feel like Russell Wilson, nationally speaking, is under the radar, which is nuts. He's fantastic. Get Josh Gordon more involved this week. So I think the Rams are really good defensively. There's no doubt about that. The Rams, I think, will do a nice job against Tyler Lockett and a nice job against DK Metcalf this week. But if the Seahawks can get Josh Gordon going, I think that's going to be tough for the Rams to defend. I've liked the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver core all year. The addition of Josh Gordon is going to be very, very good. And if they can really get him moving, integrated into the offense, if he's drawing like 7 to 9 targets a game in addition to what else they do with the running game and these other talented receivers they have, Seahawks are going to be tough to beat. And then lastly, I think a conservative game bodes well. I mentioned if they can just keep it close, I think they'll win the fourth quarter. The power running game, that's going to tire out the defensive line a little bit. And Russell Wilson has these debilitating runs where, if it's 4th and 5 and it's got to have it down, everybody's covered, you dial up a perfect blitz, he could always roll out and get you 6 yards in a scramble. And that kind of stuff just takes a mental toll against the defense. And, man, he is just a killer. He's an assassin out there. And I say this, again, I said at the beginning of the video, I'm not a fan of any team. I'm not a fan of Russell Wilson. I was raised a Redskins fan. I followed the Redskins fan for years. I've since gone astray from them. I don't root for them or against them anymore or anything like that. I'm not biased for that. But what I will say is the Seahawks have knocked the Redskins out in the playoffs like the last 4 or 5 times they've been there. I have no love for the Seahawks. So when I talk to you about Russell Wilson, believe me, that's me being completely unbiased here. He's just incredible. Let's talk about the Rams' path to victory. So the LA Rams, by Sean McVay's own admission, he has to stop being a quote-unquote, his words not mine, idiot. Give the ball to Gurley. I've been saying this all freaking season. People have been commenting on these videos saying, it's Gurley's tendonitis, Gurley's shot, it's the interior offensive line. No. McVay has finally come out and said he's an idiot. I agree with him wholeheartedly. Give the ball to Gurley. It shouldn't take some dork like me doing a 10-minute video on the Rams like 2 or 3 times a season to watch these games and think, maybe you should give the ball to Gurley more. Come on. Just stop doing it. Give the ball to Gurley. If he gets 25 touches this game, the Rams will win the game. Do I have any faith that he's going to get 25 touches? No, I have no faith that that's going to happen. But mark my words, if he gets 25 touches in this game, the Rams will win the game. I do not think they're going to do that, but it will happen, okay? Now, Goff, he's going to have opportunities deep with Woods and Kupp. The Rams, they have to play two-dimensional football. Again, it goes back to running the ball. And by the way, the third down conversion percentage, the red zone conversion percentage, it goes down to running the ball. Stop it. I said this last week. Stop it with Malcolm Brown. Give the ball to Gurley. You've done it for 2 years. I watch the games. Yes, I don't just look at analytics. I watch all of these games. Gurley's knees are fine. Run the ball. It's not rocket science, McVay, for crying out loud. And all respect, I mentioned I'm Redskins. Yeah, I grew up a Redskins fan, right? I know McVay. I'm very familiar with what McVay has done in the NFL. He is outsmarting himself at this point. Go back to what got you there, Gurley, and then play action and Goff. That's it, guys, for crying out loud. And the Rams are still 7-5, by the way. They're still in the thick of things. If they win this week, they're definitely in the thick of things. They can make it happen. And by the way, if the Rams win, if they can put a little bit more pressure on the Minnesota Vikings, suddenly after this week, the Vikings could be 9-4. The Rams could be 8-5. Then Cousins starts to get a little bit pressure. I'm telling you, you win this game. This is huge for the Rams. Huge for the Rams. Give the ball to Gurley. Load up to stop the run. Try to make Seattle as one-dimensional as you can. If you stop it early, hopefully you can rest up that defensive line because you're going to get a lot of running in the fourth quarter, in my opinion. The Rams are giving up a full possession of the game. Again, running the ball will help with that. Obviously, Gurley has to hold on to the ball when he gets the ball. But don't have Jared Goff throwing the ball 50 times a game. It's not going to be good for anything, and it's not going to be good for turnovers either. And then keep Russell Wilson in the box. That's easier said than done. That'd be like me saying, hey, why don't you just change the sky to green instead of blue? It's not very easy to do. Russell Wilson's slippery. He's very good. I could say, hey, stop. If I'm talking about Baltimore, hey, don't let Lamar Jackson run. That's kind of lazy analysis. And of course, that's the answer. But do your best. Try to keep him in the pocket. Now, the Rams have, I think, the scheme. Wade Phillips knows. They're very familiar with Seattle at this point. They understand Russell Wilson's tricks, but they gotta make that happen. Okay, and I think that, this Rams game might be that game where he had that crazy touchdown pass to Lockett. Look, Russell Wilson's good. Russell Wilson's gonna get his in this game. Just do your best to limit it. Let's talk about fantasy football, okay? The Seattle Seahawks projections. Russell Wilson at a 21, that's a definite start. I think it's top 5 projection. Chris Carson, 14.9, that's a definite start. Rashaad Penny, I know a lot of people are liking him. I actually think the Seahawks will use him more. I think that Rockobot, my computer projections, are a little bit wrong on this. I see Penny more as like an 8 or a 9. I think he'll get you some catches out of the backfield, so I like him to progress there. Tyler Lockett and Metcalf. Rockobot actually likes the projections. I think I think it's going to be less about Metcalf this week and more about Gordon. That's just my gut feeling. I think we're going to see Gordon excel in this game. I disagree with Rockabot there. Jacob Hollister, I've been talking him up since the Will Dissly injury. He gets a lot of targets. He didn't get a lot of red zone looks on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings, but he's always a threat. Wilson likes his tight ends in the goal line, dating back to even the Jimmy Graham days a couple seasons ago. He likes tight ends. Jacob Hollister will be a threat to score a touchdown every game this year. And then the defense and special teams, I really like this projection at a 7.5 for the Seattle Seahawks. For the Rams, let me just start below in defense there, 7.6. I also like their projection. But moving back up to quarterback, Jared Goff at a 17.3. That's actually a sit grade for me. I know the matchup against the 29th ranked passing defense. Look, I had Goff. This is why I'm so bitter about Todd Gurley. I actually ended up with Goff and Gurley on my team, and Sean McVay screwed my primary fantasy football team this year. It drives me crazy. Gurley should have been a top 5 back all year. I gambled on his injury, not knowing. As soon as I watched him in the first game, I thought, oh yeah, that knee has enough to get you there. And this season has been history. What can you say? But Todd Gurley, let me tell you this. This is a start grade, but it's not a great start grade for Todd Gurley. If he only gets 11.9 points in fantasy, the Rams will have lost. So Rams fans, you better hope that that projection's better. I don't like Malcolm Brown's projection. I don't really like Malcolm Brown. Brandon Cooks, no offense to Malcolm Brown. I just don't like his usage in the system this year. Brandon Cooks, 8.7. That's not a start grade. Woods and Kupp are definite start grades. Obviously, Kupp getting into the end zone projected there. Tyler Higbee. Now, Gerald Everett concerns me a little bit because I really do think that's a tight end by committee situation there. If Everett can't play, I like Higbee quite a bit. If he does play, I'm a little bit hot and cold. I think he does not meet this projection here that Rockobot has given out. And then once again, the defense, 7.6. So there you go. That takes me through the Rams versus the Seahawks game plan. I think we have another 5 out right now by the time this video is launched. We'll be doing the Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots as part of a wider kind of concept show that I'm doing as an answer to the awful Fox and CBS pregame shows. I'm trying to do a YouTube pregame show that has a little bit more meat and a little bit more analysis that's useful for real NFL fans out there, rather than watch a bunch of old guys, octogenarians, laugh at each other's jokes, which I'm not into, and I don't think you are either. Like, do you want to go see, you ever see PBS, like the the PBS channel, and your grandparents are watching it, and they see some old comedian with hair in his ears, like talking jokes and saying the corniest things, and everybody's laughing? That's basically what the Fox and CBS morning pregame show has devolved into, in my opinion. It's awful. It's unwatchable. So I'm going to try to create an answer for that. Underdog TV is going to try to create an answer for that. So tune into that. I'd be curious because it's going to be moving target. Give me your thoughts. Like and subscribe and comment here. That stuff helps this video's popularity, our channel's popularity. And once again, we will catch you on another episode soon.